This has been an amazing month for me. It's interesting that Pride Month ends up being the month that I give my last talk before my sabbatical. And I had a question for all of us today. A lot's been coming up for me about ministry and where I am and who I am. And I have a question for you all, which is, who are we in this congregation? I mean, who are we? I know who you all are individually. I know all of you individually, so I know who you show up as. In this quantum field of oneness and wholeness, you're all individuated as your own unique personality. So I get that. But my question today is, who are we? Who are we as the Global Truth Center? Who is, not what is, but who is the Global Truth Center? I mean, oh, you're going to answer it. Great. That was rhetorical, but go ahead, Sherry. Did you hear that? One collective energy of love. How's that? That's beautiful, Sherry. Okay, so I just wanted to do a little memory lane for you all. So back in, I need my little clicker. Back in 2003, or I guess it was 2002, when I became a minister, I was Dr. Walker's staff minister, and I wasn't feeling very fulfilled as his staff minister. David was not one that let his ministers do anything, to be honest. He did it all, and no one was ever speaking, and no one was ever teaching. It was just, so I decided to open my own church, and of course, we went looking for a church, and I found a theater, and the board said no. They said, this theater is really hideous. And so I went along with the board, and we found another place that dumped us a week before our first service on Christmas Eve because they didn't realize we were a church. They thought, because they knew me as an actor, they just figured I was putting an acting company together or something. So we ended up, I said, I guess we're going to have to go back to that theater. So we did. And then we bought the theater, and it was renovated and turned into one of the most beautiful theaters in North Hollywood. So that was on Christmas Eve. And I was so excited when we first started the church. I was so excited because this was my ministry. There is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. Can you imagine I was just going to say 20-year-old, a 30-something-year-old minister who's just dying to get up on stage and tell everyone this? That's where I started, because this was Ernest Holmes' entire philosophy. There is a power for good. Now, I have many different understandings of that now, but at the time it was like, okay, so there's this great energy of good in the universe, and I can use it, right? And that went along really well for as long as it worked until it didn't. And I had to make better sense out of it, so we went to this. You can use it because you are it. And can I tell you that it took from 2003 to around 2013 to arrive at that? So those first 10 years, a lot happened. In 2010, I had stage 4 cancer. Wasn't sure. I was sure. But the doctors weren't sure I was coming out of that. And when I got out of that, it was like almost instantaneously. I came out of that time of cancer, and a gentleman came to me and gave me a book out of nowhere to my office and gave me a book, and the book was entitled 3 Magic Words. I am God. And, at first I was like, thanks. But then I decided I should read it. So I started to read it, and I'm like, oh my God, this makes perfect sense. This makes perfect sense. Then I invited him to come to a workshop at the center. He had a movie he did on it. Does anybody remember that? Do you remember that, Caressa? I can't remember his name now, but he showed us his new movie. It was amazing. And everybody was like, oh my God, I am God. So shortly after I am God, I got a lot of kickback. Can you imagine? I did. We got a lot of kickback. The world wasn't ready for that in 2013. Some of the world's not ready for that in 2024. But in 2013, I got kickback from my board. I got kickback from my ministers. I didn't have ministers then. My practitioners. I got a lot of kickback saying, you're going to alienate half of our congregation. Remember, Nancy? You were there by then. And I was also teaching mental muscle. And there was a line in mental muscle this one. If you can't put your heart in it, take yourself out of it. Do y'all love that quote? Many of you have taken mental muscle, so you should remember that quote. And that's when I made my decision. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't pretend I don't know where Ernest Holmes' teaching was leading us. And then I started reading the seminar lectures and got very clear where he was at the end of his life. He practically said, I am God in the seminar lectures. When he said, I am not one of God, I'm not one with God, I am not part of God, I am one of God. And he quoted the Rumi quote, that, I'm not a part of the ocean, I'm the entire ocean in a drop. And it was then and there, with that quote saying, if I can't put my heart in this, I have to take myself out of it. It was then and there that I decided to move forward. And it's interesting, because as soon as I did that, we outgrew the NoHo Art Center. We went to 2 services, which I hated doing 2 services. Just so you know, when a minister does 2 services, the second service, they're trying to remember what they did the first service. I mean, really, it really felt like that. I was like, I said this better last time. So we outgrew it. We needed to go our own way. So in 2016, we sold the building. We moved into offices on Ventura Boulevard, and we did our services in a synagogue at night on a Sunday. Anybody? Who was here for that? So you guys remember that? Okay. So Sunday nights in a synagogue, and we had beautiful offices in Ventura, which is when I got a phone call from the Westlake Center for Spiritual Living saying, would you come speak for us on a Sunday morning, since you're free on Sunday mornings now? That didn't go over well with Kevin. He was like, we just moved it to Sunday night so that we could all have time off on Sunday mornings. Now you're going to do both? I was like, mm-hmm. So I was drawn to Westlake Village. And when I got here, there was a very small group of the people that were still here, but very, very passionate people. And 2 of them are sitting right there, the Brabants, who really, and Jeannie. I mean, if you were here when I first came here, raise your hand. Great. So it was fascinating to come here and start talking. And I knew that I was in this kind of split thing where I was in NoHo at night, here in the morning. And that didn't last too long, because eventually we did the most impossible thing I could ever think of for 2 churches to do, which is merge. And we really came together. And I remember the early days of doing our general meetings here that were really a little tense. Anybody remember those? Yeah. What were we going to do with the money? How were we going to put the money together? What were we going to, And I have to say, Sherry and Stan and Glenda, who were all on the board at that time, you guys were amazing. You made me feel welcome. You made me feel like I had a place here. You made me feel that I could bring my family here. My family called the NoHo Art Center for New Thought, which at that time was called the Global Truth Center. And it still is. So we merged. And then as we started teaching, and I never laid back, I never got softened on I am God. Y'all tried to get me to soften that up a bit in the beginning. But after a while, here's the thing. Those that weren't ready for that needed to go find a church that was ready to teach the other side of this. You all stayed. Those of you in this room today, those of you online, you all stayed. And some of you stayed kicking and screaming because you weren't happy with it, and it took a while to really get the I am God thing. But once you know the truth, you can't just go back. You cannot go back. Carl Jung says this, who looks outside dreams, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. This center, the merged center of those 2 families, this center was all about looking inside. In 2018, this congregation, this community, pulled my family through the unimaginable. And I watched. I didn't get off this stage, but I watched how everyone came together when we lost our daughter. And even then, even more so, that was about, are we willing as a spiritual community to look inside and find the truth, not just to look what's going on, and try to deal with it. Because I'm not about just deal with your life. I'm about expand your life. Find out who you remember who you are. And then, of course, came the pandemic. And our beautiful church almost split in half. Mask, no mask. Ventura rules, Los Angeles rules. Honestly, being a minister at that time, I felt like a schizophrenic. Truly, it was really difficult to try to placate everyone, to make everybody happy. I couldn't. So I had to follow my own heart and follow what I thought was right for our community. But here's the thing. Those that needed a different community that didn't wear masks and did that role, manifested their life that way, they're now where they need to be, and you're all still here. All of you that stayed and are back here, that's who we are. So we made it through. We absolutely made it through all of that. I've made it through all of that from Christmas Eve 2023 till this moment. And I have a very special message for you today. But I need a minute because I'm still a little emotional and I've got to sing this. You won't believe it, and strange as it sounds, extraordinary magic follows you around. And the camera can't catch it. You won't see it in the mirror. If I say, look behind you, you turn around, it disappears. But I see it, I see it. I swear to God, I see it. Extraordinary magic in you. You see, for me, this was always about finding the lyrics. This was always about those of us here today. It was always about who wants to understand, who wants to know, who wants to learn, who wants to grow. And I look around this room and I see ministers. I see practitioners. I see board members. I see volunteers, and I see the people who make this center. When I say what is the Global Truth Center? You are the Global Truth Center. And everything that came before it, and everything that will come after it, every single one of you, that's why you're here today. So here, this month, in Pride Month, I wanted to tell you all how proud I am to be the spiritual director of the Global Truth Center, but how proud I am to just be here with all of you. I mean, we took Reverend Dr. Tiffany Mellon from a sarcastic, negative, hated everything person to the joyous revelation she is today. If we've done nothing else, we have succeeded, right? And I say that jokingly, but you have totally transformed. Jeannie, what you just did in 30 days of BODS, that's what this center's about. Really reclaiming who you are, who you know yourself to be, really getting clear on who you know yourself to be. Out of thin air, y'all appeared in my life like a burst of technicolor in a world of black and white. When your heart was locked inside a box, you all reached inside. And now I see the future when I look into your very eyes. I see it. I see it. I swear I do. I see it. Extraordinary magic in you. And I know that miracles happen Who cares what they say? Is love nothing more than a miracle happening over and over, day after day? So here's what goes. So I'll keep my eyes open, awed and amazed. And if you start to doubt it, I'll remind you of the million ways I see it. I see it. I swear I do. I see extraordinary magic in you. Oh, I see it. I see it. I swear I do. I see it. Extraordinary magic in you. The title of my talk today is Extraordinary. That's what I think of when I look at this congregation. All the things that we've done, all the things that we've come through. Yes, some people have moved on. People should move on. We should only go where we are being fed. So what I know is that every person that sits here today is being fed by one another. That's who we are. That's what the Global Truth Center is. Have you noticed on the website the new page that shows all the books that are being written by the people of this center? We are, to hell with aging. I mean, the books, the things that are being created at this center, the classes that are being designed. The Emerson Institute, when I send them my roster of students, I just sent them the tests that all the ministerial students took, and I got this very funny note back, and one of the people that wrote me back said, I don't think any of us could have passed that test. But my students can. These students can. You all can, because that's what we are doing. Yesterday, we had our pool party. Watching Lexi swim in the pool, watching her, she was attacking me in the pool. When I got to bed last night, I had forgotten that she put that thing on my leg. And I was like, what is on my leg? And I was like, ugh. You all leave things on me. Every day. You leave your imprint. You have an impact on my life. And I like to know that I have an impact on your life. That's what we do here. That's what the ministers are here to do. That's what the practitioners are here to do. I mean, really, look at what we've created. And frankly, this is where I want to go. Look how strong we are. So, this month, in Pride Month, I want to ask you a question. We teach quantum wholeness. We are really all about pushing the bar. We teach personal responsibility, so everybody in this room is good with that, being responsible for the lives they're creating. And we teach our unique individuality, every single one of us. We get to be and do and play with whatever Parcheesi pieces we want because we honor and respect everybody's right to be the person they want to be. So I have a question for you to ponder while I'm gone. It's the fifth question of the 5 questions. And do you all remember what that last 5th question is? Yeah. Do I know how great I am? This is Pride Month. Are you willing to be proud of who you are? And more importantly, are you willing to be proud of who you are as the Global Truth Center? You should be very proud. You are in a jewel of a spiritual center that is respected by many, many other churches and organizations because they see what we're doing. They see that we are pushing the envelope. They see that we are asking ourselves to go beyond a 1927 book, to go beyond what we've been learning our whole lives. There are people on this planet that come into the world, learn what they learn, and then keep that for the rest of their lives until they die. I want to be that person that the day before I die, I may look at myself and go, wow, it was none of it. It's this. Right? Wouldn't you like that? All of us. So that's the pride I want to end this month with. Your personal pride in who you are. And I want you to spend the time while I'm gone, because I will be, asking yourself, do I really, really know how great I am? Am I really clear? When I say I remember who I am, I'm not remembering what I've done. I'm not remembering all the stuff that's happened in my life. I'm remembering who I am deep inside that is finally showing up on the outside. Every single one of you has the opportunity to bring that truth from within, right, Debbie? Bring that truth from within and live it out loud. That's why I started with divine principle. It's really important that we learn how to live this teaching full out. And you may make a mistake. I do, rarely, but when I do, when I make a mistake, Kevin tells me. So I'm very well aware of when those things happen. We all make mistakes. That's fine. And Caressa did a beautiful meditation this morning, which talked about don't try to fight the things about yourself you may even want to change. You're human, divinely human. That's why we get to experience this human thing called life. And whatever it is, love it. What was that last line in your reading? It was like, fighting never changes anything. Love does. Denial. Yes, it creates denial, but love creates the change. So I'll keep my eyes open, awed and amazed. And if you start to doubt it, I'll remind you of the million ways. Join me. I see it. I see it. I swear I do. I see it. Extraordinary magic in you. Join me again. Ready? I see it. I see it. I swear I do. I see it. Extraordinary magic in all of you. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.